Welcome to Super Saturday at the 52 World Championships here in Mahon. It's the penultimate day of racing and what a day we have in store. We had two great races yesterday in different conditions, two different race areas, and the forecast for the day is very much the same in terms of a transition in the middle part of the day. Joined by fearless Fergal Finlay from the Gladiator team, the boat captain. We're very, very fortunate to have Fergal, our sailing expert, who will be giving us colour and advice through the day. But let's start off by looking at the leaderboard for the World Championship as it stands after 6 races. We passed through the midpoint yesterday, and it's Quantum Racing with that big lead. They're calling them the Untouchables. They have 2 days to carry on at the same level, but they are very much on course for the world title on 10 points. Pravetsa and Ran both had solid days yesterday. Ran in particular 2 second places, Pravetsa a 4th and a 1st, so both on 27 points. Azura 32, Platoon 40, Gladiator 41, Brunenasek 43, Paprec 43, Allegre 47, then 51 for Sorsha, 53 for Sled, and Phoenix on 55. Phoenix at their first regatta in the 52 Super Series. Fergal, just a few words on the table. I say Quantum well ahead, but it's really, really compact. There's something to fight for all the way through the next 2 days.
Yeah, from second all the way through to 6th at the moment is, you know, you get one bad result, one good result between those places, and we see those change up and down. The same goes for the second half. And 4 more races, it's far from over. Quantum, like you say, look untouchable. 17 points over 4 races, you can't see it.
And at the bottom end of the table, what did I say? Phoenix, they're 55. They're only 2 points behind Sled. I mean, it's a difficult position for them in the first regatta, but Sled, third overall last season, lying 11th. But I mean, they can still get up to mid-table over the final 2 days. And as you say, that battle in the middle of the fleet, well, it's really all to play for today. We spoke with Nicholas Zenstrom this morning, the owner-driver of Ran Racing. They say they had these 2 second places yesterday, and he's always talking about avoiding the big dips. Nicholas Zenstrom.
This is a critical day, the penultimate day of the regatta, and quite a few boats very compacted for second place. And at this point of regatta, I think realistically the goal is going to be second place. Quantum is just untouchable, and they're just in a different league, and so we're going to have to try to continue the way we sailed yesterday, and we have had some really good results, and for us it's about avoiding those big dips. So that's our focus can be avoiding the big dips and not necessarily winning the race, but if you can get top 3, top 4, that's good in every race.
Well, Ran Racing really setting a high standard, not quite in Quantum's class, but they've had 4 second places through the regatta so far. And Nicholas talking about these big dips. They've had a 9th and a 10th. What do they have to do today then to replicate these second places?
Just keep on sailing smart as they have done. They've got those 2 kind of bogey results, a 9th and a 10th in the first and the 4th race. But otherwise consistently second. So they're just going to be looking to consolidate those 2 seconds yesterday. No big changes. I think we're going to see similar, maybe slightly lighter conditions in the first race. So they might have to change a few things, but they'll be doing more of the same.
So much pressure on the start line, isn't it? Particularly with the owner drivers. It's all about communication, having a game plan and executing.
Yeah,
Cameron Dunn from the Sorsha. Cameron, what's the weather going to do today?
It looks like it's going to be very similar to yesterday, probably a bit lighter at the beginning as we can see, but it's coming in from the southwest offshore. Then there's going to be a front coming through sometime early afternoon, and then it should come in really nice from the north, so we could have 15 to 20 for a bit this afternoon.
So that transition phase is the difficult bit.
Yeah, it's just all in the timing. Hopefully it's between races, not in the middle of the race like it was yesterday.
What do you look at before you come here in terms of homework, as it were?
You maybe speak to some people who may have sailed it before, and perhaps look at the climatology of the area to see whether you need to bring your rain hat and umbrella, and look at the charts and see whether there's any big features, and just do a little bit of background, but you can't do too much. The only thing you really do is come here and sail, and that's what we do.
And rain hats and umbrellas today?
Hopefully we'll miss all the showers, but the boats are wet enough anyway when the breeze is up, so the water comes from in front of you as well as above you.
So it's really going to be all about that, or certainly one part of the day is going to be this transition phase where we go through to the northerly breeze as we saw yesterday, and that's a very, very unstable period of the day.
Yeah, hopefully we don't see the same yesterday where we had to abandon one race. Hopefully we get one good solid race in the lighter stuff, and maybe the race committee will give it a little wait, make sure that we're not going to get the same as yesterday before it swings around to the north.
So that's our weather graphic. We're seeing the breeze between south, west and west, and it will move through to 11 to 12 knots, and that's a transition phase around about, should hopefully be after the first race, and then there will be the northerly will come through. It's really all about that transition, how that plays out, and it's really a heads out of the boat kind of day is what they'd call it. We know in terms of accurate weather forecasts what should happen, but it's really watching for the cues and really sticking to the game plan. We're joined by Lars Bocking. Lars was out in the beach cleanup this morning. It is International Coastal Cleanup Day, and we had our beach cleanups that we have at each. We have each of the beach cleanups at each of the regattas, and it's such an important part. I think the microphone's off, Lars. But we had a whole bunch of local kids down on the beach here. We had a fantastic turnout, very, very enthusiastic. And of course, the environmental aspect is important, but also introduces young kids to the 52 Super Series and to the class.
No, first of all, good morning in the morning. Yes, we had a very, very good start in the day. This morning we did the International Coastal Cleanup, or we are part of the International Coastal Cleanup. And yes, sustainability is a very important part of the positioning of the Super Series. We have to keep in mind that every year there are something like 8 million metric tons of plastic waste are floating around the ocean. And for us as sailors, I think it's a good thing that we are looking after that. And for example, last year within this International Coastal Cleanup, there were 8 million kilos collected by 800,000 volunteers. So these are big numbers, and I'm really happy that we are part of that. And at the end, that also the sailors are helping us, because the other day Fergal showed me a picture of one of his guys. They were doing, I think you were on the way from Sardinia to, from Mallorca to Minorca, and they found a big fisherman's net, and it's really good that the teams are getting into the whole sustainability story, and that's really helpful. But Fergal, how did you manage that? Fisherman's net there in the water, but there's lots of stuff around.
Oh yeah, well, I think we all try and keep eagle-eyed and on the lookout. None of us want to see stuff in the ocean, and it affects us sailing, and it affects the whole planet. So we're all in touch with you guys and in cleaning up, and keep our eyes open, and whatever we can do when we're in our chase boats when we're out there, we try.
No, it's really good, because we started with a partnership what we have with 11th Hour last year, and the interaction what we are having right now with the team, it's getting better and better. Though the interest from the teams is there as well. And this morning the beach cleanup was a success, because we collected 40 kilos of trash, and everybody told us before, hey, we are in Minorca, it's a wonderful place, and it is. But when you look into the details, it's unbelievable. 40 kilos of waste, and we collected that within 20 minutes with 20 kids. So it's very much about the involvement and also looking after this kind of stuff.
So a great job, Lars, a great job from our volunteers, a lot of waste taken off the beach. The other thing which was going on this morning was we had a collection for Barrett's Bash, which is another international event which is happening today around the world, commemorating the memory of Andrew Simpson, the Olympic medalist who unfortunately died in a sailing accident during America's Cup practice. And he was, of course, a very popular member of the TP52 community. We had a collection for him this morning, and saw some of the sailors joining together to remember Andrew.
I'm for pro. 50. Well done, thank you very much.
Yeah, Ian, what's going on today?
Well, today's the Bart's Bash in memory of Andrew Simpson, who's a good friend of many of us and colleague, and also a TP52 sailor himself on Origin. And so here's this wonderful charity which helps get young kids sailing, both practically and with finance to help that across a number of countries. So we're going to try and stick our hands in our pocket, raise some money, and hopefully take a photo and join in the fun. Over 60 countries worldwide they'll be sailing today in memory of the big man.
Everybody being suitably generous then, are they?
Very generous indeed, but we're being so well looked after here by the locals and by our owners. I think it's only right that we are.
Great.
Look, even the Scotsman's putting money in. Was that a 50? Was that a 50? There we are.
Unfortunate racial stereotyping there from Ian Walker, claiming that wasn't putting in enough money, but fantastic cause, and Andrew Simpson, such a good friend to so many sailors out there, and very, very sadly missed. We're looking out onto the race course now. The news is that we have the AP down. We're moving well through the starting sequence. We just have just over a minute to go, and conditions looking pretty good. We have 8 to 10 knots, I think, of breeze from around about 235 degrees is the wind axis. So a little bit further left than we started yesterday. But Fergal, talk us through the course.
Well, we're setting up for a straight windward leeward. We're just inside the 1 minute, and as you can see, it's a little lighter than our first start we saw yesterday. Looking at this, the pin end seems to be the big bias. A lot of people down at that end, and it's only Gladiator, Azura and Quantum up at the committee boat end that we can see here. 20 seconds to go. This is going to be one for the real concentration, I think, this race.
Yeah, very much lighter than we've seen so far, except on the first day. And really, you have to get off the line with pace, and ideally with a nice clear lane. Gladiator, as you said, starting up towards the committee boat end of the line. A little bit more bias down towards the boat end. Gladiator a little bit slow off the line as the gun goes.
Yeah, it's a shame to see. The line there's long enough for 12 boats, and you shouldn't really have at this level any boat that's in the second row. So it's always a bit of a shame, whatever boat to be watching, especially my own, is to be in the second row and a little late off the start. But still,
good start there from Phoenix, I would say, and Ran Racing. General Recall. Gladiator off the hook on that one then, Fergal?
They were probably bang on the line. It was the rest. I take it back. Sorry, guys.
Exactly, great start. But yeah, you can have live again. And in this situation, we saw it yesterday. The fleet will carry on for a few minutes just to speed test, make sure that you've got all the settings right against the fleet, and have a little bit of reconnaissance to see what the breeze is really doing off the start line. Any thoughts there?
Well, with the general recall and boats obviously planning their start line, it's a shame for those guys who are winning the pin. Obviously everyone wants the pin at the moment, so it's a shame for the boat. Maybe I'm sure Phoenix probably were over if it was a general recall, but it'll be a shame for them to have put themselves in the position they want, and now everyone's going to see how well they extended forward, and now there's going to be a lot more of a fight for that pin. So we may see a couple of boats move more of the midline if they realise how crowded it's going to be.
Yeah, 1.7 nautical mile beat, and the wind direction at the start there was 235 degrees, but the breeze is swinging around a lot. We had quite a bit of a delay just to get the windward leg laid and the start line laid, just because the breeze was moving around so much. Just to go back to that sustainability, it's such an important part of our philosophy this year and last year. We started with our partners 11th Hour last year, and they really give us a lot of guidance. But equally, there's not just the sustainability issue and the philosophy, but it's also bringing young kids in, teaching them the sustainability environmental message, and also bringing them close to the circuit. They're enthused by meeting their heroes and so on.
Yeah, I think it's really important to get the younger generations, like the Oppie sailors who are here, to get them involved and make them more aware and conscious about what they're going to be sailing in the future, and getting them teed up now.
Yeah, the other nice thing, as an aside, is all the parents come down this morning and they're all enthused to see the 52 Super Series. They see the boats, their heroes, and the atmosphere, the ambience is fantastic. But let's have a look at how the beach cleanup went this morning, and really they collected a lot of rubbish in a very, very short period of time.
We are the forefront to sustainability, and we're living with the oceans, we're living with the seas, we're working with them. This is why we are here. So we cannot not respect them and respect the environment. So making a big effort to respect nature and respect environment is definitely part of our jobs.
It's more than a message. I mean, it's really been a change in lifestyle for all of the teams. Even just a year ago, the stacks of plastic bottles that were coming down to go out on the water all day were, enormous. And now there's virtually none. It's a really, and that's just one part of all the things that are happening. It's really great to see.
Reusing the same water bottle is a very easy one. Using good products to wash off the boats is another one. Making sure that you never throw overboard any, your wrapping from your sandwich or your aluminum paper, even your cigarette butt. Whoever is smoking on the water should never throw it away. Whatever should never go into the water. I think that just having this in mind is a good start. Making sure that we can recycle as much as possible, being aware of what we are using and how we are using it. We try never to throw a plastic bottle in the normal way, so it's easy to use the dispensers for recycling. There are many things. If you start thinking about them, I'm sure we could come up with a long list.
So that's our summary programme, really just capturing some nice images for the sustainability programme. The beach cleanups successively in Scarlino, around the marina in Porto Cervo, and also in Puerto Portals. And as I said, we did go out this morning with a bunch of kids and went out onto one of the islands. And the amount of rubbish that was collected, as I say, in a very short period of time, I think they had over 45 kilos, a lot of plastic. And obviously a lot of that is generated by tourists who very sadly, they come to these unspoiled little corners, go onto the beach and leave their debris behind, and we're all learning to be much more responsible. Anyway, conditions out on the water, very much the same as when we left them, but it's still quite unsettled. The breeze is swinging around a little bit, but we are expecting a start within 3.5-4 minutes time. How much does that false start, if you like, does the recalled start, how much does that kind of telegraph what everybody's going to do second time around? Is that going to give the game plan away?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, the boats who were winning the pin and got that good position will be a little bit gutted that everyone knows where they want to be and how much of a gain they're going to make. Because they did go upwind for a little while, people will see that the boat like Phoenix, who ultimately won the pin over or not, they extended clear straight away, so other boats, they're not going to let them do that again, and there's going to be much more of a fight for the pin, or we'll see a few more boats move away from the pin because they don't want to get caught up in that fight. So we may see a more evenly spread line. I think the most important thing from this picture is we see the black flag up. Mm-hmm. So we should see a lot more reserved starting. Maybe there'll be some people who will try and capitalise on people being a bit more reserved, but anyone going over the line when the black flag comes down before the start is disqualified. And a black flag disqualification, I'm not sure of how many points you get for that, whether
13.
it's 13. That's too much of a score for people to give away and sit around and wait for them to finish the race.
Particularly, and once again, just to reiterate, of course, it's a no discard season. All the regattas, there are no discards, and so a 13-point score from today or from one race is far too heavy a price to pay. So I think people will be a little bit more careful. But just going back to what we were saying about this art or science, if you like, of getting an owner-driver onto the line at maximum pace. So it's all about communication, about having a game plan, but also being able to adapt that in the final seconds as the start evolves.
Yeah, the afterguard have to work a bit more overtime with an owner driver than with a professional driver. The professional driver is very easily able to tune into the thoughts of the navigator and the whole crew slightly more than an owner driver who hasn't been an Olympic gold medalist or a America's Cup winner or a World Championship, multiple World Championship winner. So the afterguard have to work a lot more, work together a lot more,
yeah.
and they need to be making their decisions for 2 seconds later, because they have to not explain it, but say what they want to do and then hope the owner is right on track with them. So they have to think just that little bit more in advance than maybe the pro driver teams.
It's interesting. One of the evolutions that we have seen a little bit this season is the strategist and tacticians working together, and so the strategist will take over the tactician's role at manoeuvres on the start, for example, and the tactician will possibly drop in and do much more kind of micromanagement off the helmsman. For example, we see with Brenna Secono that Edo Stead and Michele Avaldi, that kind of interplay evolves at the manoeuvres and on the start line. And so Michele, for example, will be really micromanaging Vladimir coming off the line, just telling him all the time what he wants. Speed build, speed build, speed build, you know, bring the bow up, and just it's all about hitting the line on the gun with maximum pace. So we're at 22 seconds before the start.
Yeah, what you said then was perfect. The weight on Michele's shoulders is just taken off a little by Adrian, who's able to look over the rest of the fleet, and having that strategist there is just that extra little bonus for them.
So 1 second to go. Looks like a clear start this time.
Phoenix won the pin again as they
Nice
wanted to.
little jump, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how close they were to the line.
Platoon looked a bit of a shocker.
Yeah, Platoon and
There's
I
still
think
one
Sled
one
is,
boat
is
behind
back
them.
as well. But I think Azura, for me, Azura and Phoenix there got the two starts, the two best starts.
Yeah, apparently there's a penalty for Sled. So they've had to take their penalty. That's why they're behind the line. Presumably that involved Platoon as well, because Platoon are very late.
Seeing this is almost going back to our practice days that we had before the start of the regatta on Wednesday. These are the conditions we were practicing in. So it's been quite a long time since all these crews have raced in this, since Tuesday. So they have to kind of revert back to all their 2 training days to get back into the zone for this kind of racing. They'll be a lot more dynamic in the weight, trying to make sure that they're not too upright, getting weight downstairs to leeward. Only being 8 to 10 knots, you have to be really on top of the boat.
That's just about keeping the boat powered up, isn't it? And a little bit of heel angle just...
Yeah, exactly, and just treating it like a dinghy, just as though you're in your laser. You move the weight down to leeward. They're just going to be doing the same thing here. If they're going a little bit slow, they need to get powered up.
Looks like a decent start between Gladiator and Allegra. Allegra down this right of picture, most inshore boat.
Yeah, interesting to see how well Platoon got back. I mean, the gain line there is saying that Allegra are leading. I think probably more likely Azura are leading, or maybe Phoenix down there where they tack. But no, definitely. If you want to be going inshore, then Allegra and Platoon are definitely in the right place.
As you say, the 2 or 3 days of practice out in this race course. What did you learn then in terms of the big picture?
Well, we were a little further offshore when we were doing our training, so we weren't going all the way into the shore to see what kind of lifts or lulls you got underneath the cliffs. I think today, looking at the virtual eye where the mark is, we're kind of sailing in a similar area, maybe going a little closer to shore, going all the way out to the starboard ley line. But generally we saw quite an even track. As we were saying yesterday, it's not like Palma where you have that one corner. So it's more of a pressure course, not a shift course, which hopefully we get to see today.
Allegra going quite well at the moment. Seems to have nice pace on this inshore line.
Yeah, like we say, Allegra having a little bit of a quiet regatta, but just chipping away. They just got pipped by Gladiator on the last race yesterday to score a 12, and to add that to a 9 in their first race, they're going to be wanting to come out much more fresh start, forget about yesterday, and just concentrate on the day. And yeah, you can't count them out like any boat in this fleet. You can't. Yeah.
It's really it's so hard in some senses to bounce back after a bad day. I mean, what do you do in the debriefs? Give us the mood or the kind of process through a debrief like you would have had last night with the Gladiator?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to the debrief, but I'm sure what was being said was they were systematically going through every single problem that we have. Drone footage from off the water, we have cameras on board the boat, we get to watch replays of the virtual eye, and we get to really sit down and knuckle every problem that we had, every bad tack, every bad jibe, where we can go right, and just iron out those creases and get them right today.
So it looks to be between Azura and Allegri early on. Also Sorcia having a fairly solid regatta, considering this is only their second event in the 52 Super Series, lying 10th. 6th, they came away with a 6th in the second race yesterday, but more particularly, unfortunately, they took a penalty just at the finish line of race 5, but otherwise at one point they were up to 3rd yesterday at the bottom of the first run. Slid back a little bit, but to say that penalty given in 11th.
Yeah, so like Sorcia are having a really nice regatta. They're just chipping away in the middle, not really getting too many things wrong. I think they were really unfortunate with the big wind shift yesterday, because they were absolutely hosing that race, first to the first mark, and having a really good downwind leg, and then to have that taken away from you by, well, the wind gods first, must have been gutting for them, but at the same time a bit of relief after watching all the boats kind of sail around them on the outside.
So Platoon do seem to have got themselves back into it.
Yeah, Platoon obviously had a bit of a bad start. They were quite a long way behind the line at 40 seconds to go, and they've just made that decision to take one track out, not try and get in the dirty air, get a clean lane, and they've just got to go fast in a straight line. And we know that boat, doing that 2-boat testing with Quantum, we know that boat's fast in a straight line. So if they get the clear air, they're just going to plug away, and plug away.
Mm-hmm. But so too, I would think that the game plan for the Quantum racing today is just really about sailing smooth and clean, and just let the boat do its job. Know the boat's quick in most conditions. They're only gunning for top 3 scores, top 4 scores each race. Yeah, the job becomes easier with each race at the moment.
It's interesting to see how far they went out to the left-hand side. I think they're the most left-hand boat at the moment. So there's obviously been some conversation between Ian Moore, their navigator, and Terry, and the entire afterguard saying, look, we think it's going to pay out here. We see them on the furthest outside of the track there, and they're obviously in a strong position, and now they've got one long tack in on port, and they're just going to be looking to consolidate all their results and make sure they don't do any worse than a 4th. Anything out, keeping inside 4th from here on in, then they're clean.
Unfortunately, news from the race courses is a BFD, a black flag disqualification for Phoenix, which is going to be pretty bitter pill for them to have to swallow, lying in 12th place when they really needed a few good scores today. So they're going to be, unfortunately, spectators for this race, and pressure increases for race 8.
Yeah, it's really gutting to see. I think I'm sure there's plenty of sailors out there, if not all of the sailors out there, have experienced a black flag in their time and know exactly how frustrating it will be for the 13 guys on board Phoenix to have to sail all the way back to the line, wait there for the next hour and a bit. They'll carry on, they'll go and do some tuning, but they're not part of this race anymore. And like you say, being down the back, they wanted to get back into this, and they were fired up on the dock today, all big smiles, ready to go out. And very bitter pill to swallow, that.
Yeah, just the chance they were hoping to get off the bottom spot, get a couple of places on sled perhaps, and even get past Sorcia. Sorcia are only 4 points ahead of them. Well, now that task becomes ever more difficult, scoring their BFD. But meantime, up at the front of the fleet, it looks to be Allegri and Azura. Allegri still profiting on the inshore side, over halfway up the beat by the looks of things, close to the starboard tack lay line.
It looks like they've. I mean, it looks to me like Allegro are coming up on the starboard ley line. There's actually been a little bit of a left shift.
Lefty, yeah.
So when they tack over, they're going to have to sail a lot further. And I think Quantum and Azura and the other boats just out behind Quantum out there, I think it's Ran and Brennensek will capitalise on this lefty, and we could see a change of positioning and see Allegro and Platoon slightly further down the field by the time we get to the top mark.
About 25 metres, I think Azura are behind. Azura further out to the left. As you say, their position should strengthen where they are at the moment. Going well. It's a nice shot across the bows of Allegra up to Azura.
Yeah, so
Azura correspondingly need to get some points on the board against Ran and Pravetsa. They're 5 points behind Pravetsa and Ran. So they're really up for the fight today and going well. At the moment, Ran are in, I think, about 6th place and Pravetsa in 7th. So maybe we'll see a little bit of battling between these two. The two boats lying 2nd and 3rd will be certainly keeping a very close eye on each other, and they'll be their closest rivals.
I think we'll see good things from Azura today. I don't think anyone on that boat's happy to come away with a 6 or a 7, given the results they're normally used to. So they're already counting a 10, a 7, a 6 and a 7, and they won't be happy with that at all. So they're going to come out all guns blazing today, and they look to be in a very strong position now, and try and get rid of this kind of hot and cold element that they have, whether
Absolutely.
up or down. They want to get a bit more consistency, but consistency in the top, in the podium positions.
That's the point, I think, is they've got 2 firsts and then the 10, 7, 6, 7. You really need to be putting in 3s and 4s rather than 6s and 7s. Of course, that 10th came in the second race when they had a mechanical failure. The pedestal winch drive broke, and also they tore a kite on the last run, but need a little bit, a few more seconds, 3rds, 4ths.
Well, these are good conditions for them today. This kind of flat water, a bit of a long swell. We can just see when the camera zooms out a little bit. You see this long swell, and they're good in that. The boat's very, very fast in a straight line. Guiget is a top driver, has been for years in this fleet, and the combination of himself and Vasco and that entire team will be pushing really, really hard. And I think we'll see a bit of a comeback today from them. They're my boat, my bet for today.
Good, I think I would go along with that. But at the moment, Ran seem to be doing quite well as well. Back up into 2nd. Morgan Larson and Adam Bichel combining as a tactician and strategist. Really in the zone. I say they've had 4 second places from 6 races. That's a pretty high batting average. Just give them.
I think Pravetsa is going to be another one to watch today. They obviously had a great day yesterday. They were in the container part this morning, all fired up, ready for another day like yesterday. And well, you see here they're going really, really well against Sorcha there. And looks like the breeze has picked up towards the top mark a little bit more. I think we're a little bit more upright at the start line. So they said it was going to be 8 to 12 across the course. I think we're seeing more of the 12 at this point. And maybe this is the start of the build, but hopefully we don't start getting too much of the northerly come in.
I should start to see Quantum there out in the left, still sailing quite high on their port tack. Good to see the pressure lines there.
I think we're seeing Phoenix in the middle of the pack. Now, I'm sure they know that they've got a black flag. I'm sure they would have been told by now, or someone would have heard. But they can carry on the course. But if they get in the way of anyone, then they could be. I don't know if you get a penalty on top of that.
You're supposed
if
to
they get
leave
in
the
way.
race course when you're told that you have a BFD.
Maybe they don't know. Although they seem to be backing off the pace a little bit. They've from such a good start, you'd think they'd be further up, but they might just be hanging out, sailing the course, getting to know it.
Anyway, Brunellasek going well also out in that left side. Coming in from the closer to the Portley line.
This will be good for the second beat as well. A lot of the tacticians here, and certainly the strategists, or the boats that have strategists, will be saying, right, we saw 4 boats go left, we saw 5 boats go right, and a couple up the middle, and they'll be looking to see which boat really paid. I think we're starting to see a little bit more variety, the way the Quantum's bows down quite a lot there as to where it was 5 minutes ago. They seem to be hooking into a little bit better left pressure. So the boats on the left now, who I thought were going to come in looking good, taking that little bit of variety, and may come out not so well as I previously thought.
Azura and Pravets are still looking best. Sorsha coming in from the high right. Should be fairly close at the windward mark.
Yeah, and credit to Platoon for getting back in. Obviously, it's very frustrating for the owner, driver, and all of the crew to be 10 seconds late off the start line, but keeping the heads up and keeping the teamwork going, getting back into the fleet, and they could be going around in the top 5 at the moment.
Don't think it's much of a secret. There's a bit of a tinderbox on board the Platoon at the moment. Quite an explosive mix at times, but certainly affected their performance yesterday. I hope they can put that behind them and sail with clear heads today. Anyway, there's Azura looking good as they approach the windward mark. Phoenix now with their jib coming down, I think.
Yep. So they've done their bit of beating. Now they've just got to kind of hang out and talk about the next one.
Stay positive. How they're going to get off the line better. Anyway, Azura looking to lead round the top mark, setting up for their kite hoist. As we said, they've won 2 races so far. They won the first race and race 4.
Azura will be once they get that lead, they're always good at extending. You see them with half of the dogleg lead there over Sorcha in second. They've had a great beat. They got the right side of the early right, or the early lefty, and then just inside the later right. And unfortunately, we see Quantum, who don't need to, but want to keep up their string of incredible results, going round the top mark in their lowest position we've seen all week.
That's right. Their only worst position was in that race yesterday, which was abandoned. But Azura do seem to have a nice lead as they head down the first run. Sorsha and Pravetsa there.
So the boats going early left just had that slight disadvantage going into the coming into the mark. Shame for them, but
looks like Platoon round in 3rd, Pravetsa 4th, Allegra 5th. I think Quantum 6th.
Yeah, Rand just coming in behind Quantum in 7, and Gladiator and Brunellasek 8 and 9. So the tacticians here will be thinking about who gained the most downwind, which way they're going to go early. We see Azura have jibed off fairly quickly.
The first beat really does give you an imprint, a pattern for what the breeze is doing. You know that there's been more pressure where it's been.
Each leg gives you a little insight to the next leg. The first beat will give an insight to the first downwind, and then from that downwind you'll be able to see who made gains. There'll be someone looking out the boat to see who's made the best gain, and that gives a little insight into what the tacticians and strategists can tell the driver where to go for the second beat.
Fairly steady progress, not quite as spectacular as yesterday's second race when we had 21 knots of breeze and the boats were doing over 20 knots. But nonetheless, I don't think that Azura will be complaining too much just now. They've got a pretty decent lead, and more particularly they have Quantum I think 4 or 5 boats back. So we're on the second leg, first downwind. It's race number 7 of the 52 World Championships here in Menorca. We've been broadcasting live from the race course for 2 days now, and of course racing finishes tomorrow. Just to clarify as well, we're sailing 2 windward-leeward races today. It was planned to be a coastal race, but I think that the consensus was that we'd rather sail, get more races in, more races we can get in before we get into the last regatta of the season. Then it does take the pressure off in terms of the overall number of races sailed over the course of the season. We tend to do around 10 or 11 races each regatta, and 5 regattas this season. Of course, we go to Cascais in October, as late I think in the season as we've raced, and really Fergal and Cascais in October you can get anything.
Well, I think we're going to see a very chilly Atlantic, so I'm glad I'm not diving the boat anymore, that's for sure. But
yeah, I mean, you can get Indian summer conditions, or you can get winter conditions at that time of year. You can get very, very strong winds coming in off the Atlantic. You get the Atlantic lows rolling in, and that could be quite unpleasant but spectacular, or it could be benign high pressure from the Azores high. But anyway, looking at Azura there, bow number 1, the 2015 52 Super Series champions, and still the defending world champions, fighting a little bit of a rear guard action. But
you see the communication from one of the sailors there, calling a bit of strategy. You know, like I said, there's always going to be one person looking at the other boats, and they'll be talking about who's jibed with them, how the other boats are going on the other side of the course, and when they want to jibe next, just to kind of keep management over the fleet. At the moment, we see that little split, and I think we're just seeing Azura jibe there to come over and consolidate the rest of the fleet, make sure that they're not losing out on anything that the boats to the right of them are gaining.
And just going back to that business with the strategists and tacticians, it's very much a feature of teams with owner drivers, and so therefore, in particular, Azura, for example, tend to sail just with Vasco as the tactician. They will have some input from a couple of guys on board as strategists. They'll spot the breeze and keep an eye more on the big picture, whereas they say the teams which have dedicated owner drivers, then they tend to work more with the strategist and tactician, that combination.
Yeah, I think it's quite a smart move to have one person concentrating on the fleet and one person concentrating solely on the owner and the driver. Like I said, it takes a bit of weight off of the tactician's shoulders, lets him concentrate on the starts, makes him concentrate on the course, and the strategist can take control of the fleet management.
Yeah, when things evolve so quickly, for example, coming into leeward gates, and the tactician ends up managing the helmsman round the gate, and really takes an eye off what's happening as the fleet heads off upwind in the next beat. Then it's really important to be able to have somebody with their head out the boat, watching how the fleet's evolved and how the weather's evolved, to change decisions very quickly.
Yeah, in those pressured up situations, especially at the bottom mark, so you say, the tactician doesn't have time to be looking out of the boat and see who's coming in on starboard, so he needs that extra set of eyes, or those eyes in the back of his head, to tell him what's going on, and he just has to have his ears open, one ear listening to the strategist and the other one listening to what's going on in the crew around him, and lets him focus totally on the job at hand.
So Pravetsa are lying in third place at the moment. Platoon Allegri have dropped a little bit since the approach to the top mark.
I think one of the biggest things in that top mark was, I think Rand got a penalty. They've dropped all the way back to 11th place. Obviously we are only racing with 11 boats at the moment, and they've dropped all the way down to 11th. So I'm guessing they got a penalty somewhere, whether they infringed a boat tacking onto the ley line or potentially hitting the mark.
Yeah, definitely a penalty for Ran at the top mark. Just confirmed from the water.
You'll see here on Sorcha what we spoke about in this lighter breeze, the dynamic of the weight gets moved around a lot more, and you see some of the guys earlier just coming their heads in now, and then the kite trimmer will be calling how he wants the weight moved around when he wants guys to hike. You know, there'll be big waves, well not big waves, but a little swell going under the boat that they want to be trying to accelerate down, so getting the boat flat and getting the bow down to go down these waves. So we'll see in these close-up shots maybe a little bit more weight dynamic throughout the day as the boats start to heel over and come upright a little bit more.
Nice shot there of Sorcha. Owner driver Peter Harrison really loving his experience with the 52 Super Series and at his first 52 World Championship. So he raced in Porto Cervo for the first time, enjoyed the experience, and has been in the mix regularly enough to really be embracing the full experience and looking forward to doing much more racing, I think, with the 52 class. There's always an element of not quite knowing what you're stepping into, and I think they were pretty nervous when they came to Porto Cervo, but very, very quickly found their marks and really can hold their heads up high. Been doing some great races.
Yeah, they've had some really good results thrown into their regatta this week. A 6, a 4, and a 6. You know, middle of the pack fleet, middle of the pack results. For them, they should be keeping their heads up for that. You know, obviously everyone wants to go out to win, but they are in the older boat. They are the newest crew together between themselves and Phoenix, and maybe some of the Paprec guys joining for this regatta. But to get into the middle of this fleet is really credible. So they should be really happy with how they're doing.
So I gather that the RAN penalty was the impeded Gladiator on the approach to the windward mark, fouled Gladiator, and Gladiator had to alter course, and the penalty was given against them, and so an expensive dip then for RAN Racing, dropped themselves back to 10th place in the meantime, or 9th really on the water.
Yeah, it's a you know, no one should really be out there impeding each other, but it's something that happens all the time,
particularly on these very tight windward mark roundings. And we look at Azura running away with this race, well ahead, coming through the leeward gate, able to sail their own race now, pick the shifts, pick the best strand of breeze as they come upwind, and really are launched well ahead of the fleet.
Yeah,
so the battle in this race is for second, and Preveza strengthening their claim to second overall just now. I think they'll probably consolidate just a little bit, not push the boat for boat stuff too much, knowing that RAN are back towards the back of the fleet, and it's a chance for Preveza to just take the foot off the pedal very slightly and sail clean, not under any immediate pressure from anyone else. They had that win yesterday. That really has will have motivated them this morning to go out and repeat that again. And as you say, Andy Beadsworth coming here from a slightly disappointing Etchells World Championships, and he'll want to impose himself as much as he can here, along with the Preveza team. So Platoon also back on the charge, coming round the right hand mark. Sorcha on the left hand mark there, looking upwind. Quantum not making too much progress, not able to chip away through the fleet. I think you'd have to say that for them, Azura looked to be a bit of a disappearing act.
Yeah, they do need to keep check of Azura, because Azura, you know, they can pull out a win just as easy as Quantum in my book, and if they're down, they're currently in 6th place, so a little 5 point loss to Azura.
They certainly can't do that in every race anyway, put it that way. But
Azura, yeah, really running away with this one, and they've just got to keep smart now, and sell the rest of the race as they have done the first half.
I mean, I suppose one of the kind of small dangers for Quantum is that they keep things in perspective. They're such hard driving perfectionists that something like a sixth could really has the potential to unsettle them because it's not perfection. But really, they have to keep a broad perspective on things and just simply return to what they were doing before. I don't think they've made any big errors in this. They just didn't get off the line and made the wrong call up the first beat. But as we said, this could be a difficult day. Is expecting this transition from the southwesterly through to the Mistral. We have the Mistral in the north of the area at the moment, and it just pushes down and dominates in the afternoon. Could see some rain showers.
We've definitely seen just looking at this picture now, we've definitely, and some of the downwind stuff, definitely seen the sea state pick up. So that's an immediate indication that there's something happening to the north of the island. The swell's getting a little bit bigger, and certainly they're full hikes now, which was different to how they were off of the start line. So over the past hour, things have really, or half an hour, sorry, things are getting windier and windier, and just hopefully we finish the race before any big shift comes in, but we could see a little bit more of a break between races just to make sure this wind is settled. Iran just gaining a place back over Paprec. Paprec not quite enjoying the same fortune as they did yesterday with their 2 fifths. Unfortunately slipped down to 11th in this race. So they'll be looking forward to a bit more wind in the second race where they enjoyed success yesterday.
Just seeing Alberto Romers there in the offshore trousers hiking out, I think it is. Well, actually maybe, certainly know Alberto Romers Jr. is on the boat, as is Pablo. The two Romers brothers who are the driving force for the team at the moment.
Big lead for Azura now. They're just extending all the time, and I think the same goes for Preveza. Preveza seem to be pulling away from Sorcha all the time as well. So I think first and second are kind of stamped on this race, and Sorcha are going to be looking to hold on to third place, which would be one of their best results, I think, in the season.
Yeah.
So far.
I think they had a second, if I remember rightly, in Porto Cervo. I've lost that particular piece of paper, but it will certainly, if they can pull that off, a top 3 score today and a good second result. I know that the owner driver Peter Harrison unfortunately won't be with us tomorrow, and it's going to be very, very hard to leave his boat.
Yeah, for sure, especially when you come away with good results. I know it's happened in the past with our boat where sometimes a work commitment has had to take precedence over the sailing, and it's been very, very difficult for Tony to say, right, we're doing so well, I've got to go back for this. And hold on, let me just do one more day of sailing, and I'll come back.
Anyway, it's so good to see Tony enjoying his racing this year, as a whole number of owners are. I think the Gladiator in particular, a little bit of a patchy season last year. Tony lost a little bit of enthusiasm, having made a big investment in a new boat and so on, and I think expectations were very high, but as you said yesterday, much more measured expectations, and really I think he's loving Menorca as much as anyone.
I think just as much as anyone, we're all really loving Menorca, and he's got the Corinthian here, he's got friends and guests able to go out and watch the racing and enjoy a really beautiful harbour that we get the pleasure of staying in here, and a great racecourse.
Anyway, Azura a big lead over 200 metres now. Preveza in second, as we said. That will be strengthening their claim to second, with Ran have taken another, ahead of Paprec.
I think we're seeing Alberto Romers driving there.
Yeah.
So this is a really big thing for him, driving for the race.
He does drive occasionally, but they do tend to have a reasonable lead, or be doing the coastal races.
It'll be a big confidence boost for him to be so far ahead. One thing winning, but winning by such a margin is even better, even more sweet.
They always say that the rich get richer in these situations. Once you get a jump on the fleet of a certain size, you really can sail your own race. You can just pick the shifts at will, upwind and downwind.
Yeah, not getting bounced around by the fleet and not getting any dirty air. The little wisps of dirty air coming off of any boat tacking in front of you is just so much nicer.
But it does tend to flatter you a little bit to see a lead of that size. Because I say once you're out in front, it's fairly easy to extend your lead consistently on each leg, especially when the breeze is oscillating.
But I think the professionals in this fleet won't let complacency become an issue. Yeah,
Absolutely
they've got
not.
a 300 metre lead, but by the bottom it could be 350 because they're not going to stop pushing. They've got to win the race, especially after this far ahead in the race, or this far through the race. They have to win it, so they just got to keep on pushing.
Request from Facebook from somebody in Turkey just asking us to tell us a little bit more about the Preveza team. Well, Preveza, it's Ergin Imre, who's a very well-known Turkish businessman. He's been in offshore and Grand Prix racing for over 30 years. He had a succession of boats called Preveza, including Far 40s, IOR, IMS. He's raced in the Mediterranean for many years. And as I said, he does still have some of his team who have raced with him since the very, very beginning. The team is managed really by Tony Ray, who's a tactician. Andy Beadsworth is the helmsman. Nacho Postigo, the navigator. Chris Hosking, the boat builder, does the main sheet. And I haven't seen him here in particular, but usually have John Cutler, the Finn medalist from New Zealand, who has a huge amount of TP52 class experience. He is coaching them here. And just looking through the crew list, we have, I think, 3 or 4 Turkish nationals on board. Salman Alper does the pit, and Kevin Savinch does the mid-bow, Turkish sailors.
I think they're runner trimmer as well.
That's right.
I think they've got a
Ahmet is the backstay trimmer, and he's sailed with Ergin for very many years. So just responding there to a question from Turkey on Facebook. If anybody has any specific or general questions about the circuit, about the boats, or about the venue, then do message us on Twitter or on the Facebook site, and we'll respond to you as quickly as we can. We're here to serve. Azura, then their roots are with the obviously Azura is the emblematic team of the yacht club Costa Smeralda, but the Romers family ran Matador yachts for many years. Same kind of background, I suppose, to Ergin. Raced IMS in the Mediterranean and also in South America, natives of Argentina. And Alberto Romers Senior, he really did start this team and has really done a huge amount to profit young sailors in Argentina. Brought on a whole bunch of these guys who are still on board, who've been sailing with Matador for 20 or so years, including helmsman Guillermo Parada and his brother Manu.
They're a very, very tight-knit team, and I think that's one of their keys to success is how long such a core group of guys have been sailing together, and that's something that talent has to contend with when there's that core group of work together. They know each other so well. They know every little bit that how to sail better with each other is so important. It's that consistency where
that's right. I
you
think
see
in terms
some
of certainly in terms of their mechanical process, the way they handle the boat, the way they work, is needs little refinement, is really the product of so many years' experience. But I think the flip side of that is that when they are slow, then they tend to go round the same loop too often, and they really sometimes you need to have somebody come in from outside and look at the different aspects, because everybody knows everybody so well, and everybody tends to work in the same way. So you sometimes have to break that chain, and I think that's possibly a little bit of what was going on earlier on in the season with Azura, but certainly quicker at this regatta. And I think we saw signs also in Puerto Portales that they had ironed out one or two of their not so much speed issues, but what's happened this year is they're more sailing at fleet speed, or just ahead of the front part of the fleet, or what you call the kind of fleet speed at the front of the fleet, rather than last year. They seem to have this ability to put the bow down and sail fast and get themselves out of positions.
Well, they're certainly back to last year's form in this race.
No, for sure.
That's an enormous lead to have after just 40 minutes of racing. They haven't seen different wind to anyone else on the course, so that is just phenomenal.
Meantime, Quantum have got themselves up to third.
Oh, of course they have.
From fifth, you know.
They were never going to give up from that position, and they have just knuckled down, stay out of trouble, don't get any fighting matches with any of the other boats around the fleet, and those guys, pure professionals, always going to come back and give all the other boats a show of force.
So it's 25-2 here, local time in Menorca in the Balearic Islands. Big hello to our American viewers, the Quantum fans, the sled fans, all the rest will just be waking up in the east coast of America. Once again, it's breakfast time there. It's Saturday morning, and hopefully enjoying our live coverage of the racing from the 52 World Championships. I believe that our audience figures yesterday were pretty impressive. So a big hello to our virtual spectators from all around the world, fans of all the different teams. And no doubt quite a few in Italy cheering on the Azura as they come round the top mark, absolutely on their own. Dare say there may even be a few people at the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda tuned in. Don't know what's happening at the Swan Championship there, but Azura doing their bidding very, very nicely today.
It's such a monstrous lead there. I don't think we'll. Maybe now is the time they could start to take their foot off a little bit. They don't have to do anything crazy. They just have to go.
As you say, I think with Alberto Römers Jr. steering the boat, then it's an indication that they're not feeling too much pressure. And always a nice chance to give something back to the family that invests so much in the team and also in our 52 Super Series. The Römers family are one of the shareholding partners, along with Nicholas Zenstrom, or Nicholas and Catherine Zenstrom, and the De Vosses from Quantum. They're the founder members of the circuit.
So Prevets are just keeping their second place from the bottom mark. They actually pulled up from fourth the last time at the top mark. They were
Quantum though on their tail.
I think Quantum the biggest change there, and Allegra as well, just pulling up one place.
Allegra and Platoon pretty much alongside. I think Platoon just getting through the inside of them.
And unfortunate for Sorcha, who I think are probably going to come around the mark in sixth. Dropping from third at the last mark. Sorcha will be looking to get back into this race a little bit more, try and take one of their places back that they've lost. And maybe a little less wind now at the top here as well that we saw at the bottom when we first saw Azura coming upwind. We saw a bit more breeze, and it looks like it's just slacked off a little there. We got onboard footage from the Gladiator. So you see here the guys setting up the.
Oh, fantastic! Look at that.
The jib trimmer there, just getting the kite sheet set up, And we'll see Ian Walker just coming down, trying to tell Tony where the mark is, giving him boat length calls, and we see the bow just going down there.
Trimmer
A
there
touch.
is.
John O'Swain on the jib trim. Tom Wilson, the pitman, setting up for the hoist on the halyard. And then we'll see the big grinders come in, the powerhouse, 4 guys filling the pumps. And
That's where they're missing you, is it?
oh yeah. I give them coaching lessons, and I take them to the gym.
You do. And there's the Corinthian in the background, the Gladiator fans watching from Tony's mothership.
So I think
Usually
the
at this point, you hear the horn in the background.
if we were where Azura were, I think we'd be hearing the horn. We'd
Yeah.
probably hear it from here.
Who's out on the pumps there?
So we've got Jeff, who's our amateur grinder, professional plumber. For he always asks.
It's always better a professional plumber than an amateur plumber.
He always asks us how many professional plumbers do you know who go out and do all this, and
Absolutely.
we always say, well, we didn't know you were a plumber, Jeff.
You can tell by the way he grinds.
Always looking up underneath it with a spanner.
Exactly. That's going to cost you, mate.
I know his family are listening, so hello,
Exactly.
Carol. And
Exactly.
sorry.
Sorry, mate. I can't turn them handles, so I'm going to go and get something from the van.
I did say to him the other day, I said, "Yeah, Jeff, I've just put a toolbox on the back of the boat. You watch out as you step across it. Do you know how many years I've been stepping over toolboxes, lad?" So sorry again, Jeff.
No, you're not. Anyway, Azura then, big lead from Provezza. Quantum chasing the Provezza, closing up very slightly as we head down this second and final run of race number 7, the 52 World Championships here in Menorca. Azura heading for their third win of the regatta. Fergal's going to tell me how the points will land after this finish.
There we are there. So Provezza keeping their second place. A second was really good for them. And actually pulls the lead to Quantum down 1 point to 16, and gives them a little 4-point buffer over Azura, but Azura taking 1 point back off of the 2 boats in front. Ran obviously taking a 10th in this. If they stay where they are, is a big loss to them, as they were doing so well, but they're having that bit of hot and cold, as I think John Gunderson said at the beginning of the week, or midweek. They were having these hot and colds, and they wanted to get rid of the colds. They certainly did yesterday.
Just be warm through the whole regatta. Eh?
Yeah. And unfortunately, Gladiator just slipping through countback on points to Brunello, but still keeping in touch with up to 5th place. And that second half of the fleet, 6th down to 10th between Gladiator to Sorcha, including Allegra and Pat Breck, is really tight. So it's still all to play for the middle of the fleet. So Gladiator obviously having a problem there with their jib lock. Someone going up the mast. Jib's still up, which in this, they want to be having the staysail up. The lighter sail, the jib will be affecting the spinnaker a bit too much on this. So they need to go up, sort this problem out, and have a bit of time in between races to make sure that that's not going to be an issue again on the next downwind.
Exactly. They'll be straight on the phone to the boat captain. Fergal, what do we do?
Yeah, we need a rib in there now.
At least we know what's happening today. But so what will he be doing just now? He's just released the jib lock.
Yeah, so there's a line that runs down the inside of the mast, and the pitman can wind the jib halyard on, pull that lock line, and that will release a clip at the top of the forestay, dropping the jib down. So they've obviously had a small technical issue with that, having to send someone up and manually releasing the jib lock that is normally controlled from the pit area. We can definitely see here down to the bottom of the course that the wind has died slightly. We're seeing slightly less speed on the boats. In the first downwind leg they were doing 10-12 knots. We're now seeing a bit more of the 8s and 9s.
So a pretty solid score for Platoon, getting themselves back into a good result from today. They had that 12th and an 8th yesterday, 20 points from the day yesterday. That was pretty expensive, pretty hard to swallow. But come away with a 4th and that, then their wheels are back on the bus.
Both Platoon and Allegre looking to shake off and forget their days yesterday. 20 points for Platoon and 21 for Allegre is a very, very, very tough day in this fleet, and no one can afford, not one boat out there can afford that kind of scoreline. So they really need to come in with their heads high.
So interesting then, you can see that the sun has gone in. It looks a little bit more like the Southern Ocean for the moment, but word from the race courses, there's black clouds rolling in from the north. We'll probably just get a little bit of a shot of that just now. And that will suggest the arrival of the Mistral at some point, the northwesterly. And navigator Jules Salter said that may even require rain hats and raincoats in between races. But at the moment, it does look like we're going to get away with this race in the southwesterly with no big wind shifts. And of course, credit to our fabulous race officer, Maria Torrio, who dictates the timing. She does, of course, listen as much as she can. It's a relatively cooperative thing with the navigators and the afterguards. She listens to them for weather information. They express their preference, what they would like to do, and then she makes a clear and objective decisions based on the information she has, and obviously takes a huge amount of information from local sources. We have a very good and active yacht club here in Mahon. Some very, very good sailors have emerged from this club over the years. Notably, I think the most recent Olympic trialist anyway was the girl who sailed with Iker Martinez in the NACRA 17, is a member of this club, and unfortunately didn't make it to Rio because most people will remember that Iker was injured at the World Championships and was therefore had to withdraw from the selection process. And there have been a few Olympians or Olympic campaigners over years from this yacht club. We've got 2 out on the racecourse just now, driving the TV boats and one of our media boats. The club is very, very active in the snipe class, producing some of the Spain's snipe champions.
We saw a couple of snipes out when we were doing our practice days. They came and had a little line-up with us, and they didn't fare so well, but a bit too much of a wind shadow. But nice to see some of the young guys coming out in their dinghies to have a little look around all the big boats and see what it's all leading towards.
Absolutely, and I say we've mentioned this in the past with our commentaries, but so many of these guys of particular generations have sailed against each other for years and years. Going back into the youth classes. I know Vasco and Edo Stead, and some of the guys of that generation have sailed each other all the way through their careers, and this is obviously the world's leading Grand Prix monohull class. And I know, for example, that Terry Hutchison and Vasco are probably the bitterest rivals in a lot of respects. Such very different characters, but their career paths have been pretty much in parallel for at least 10 or 15 years. And huge amount of respect between the two. But also very many other sailors of that particular generation. Anyway, here comes Zura. Vasco Voscotto, the tactician, I think, has over 21, 22 world titles to his name, including the 2015 World Championship for the TP52. But for the moment, the 2016 world title looks to be out of reach, but that victory has certainly strengthened their rearguard battle. Just making their jibe now. A little bit slow. Breeze has eased off, as you say, as this dark cloud has come over from the north, sitting over the top of the island, and that does, we expect, herald the change of breeze as forecast, but fairly slow just now, Fergal.
Yeah, it's like we said earlier, that the forecast is due to change. There's going to be this big transition zone, the dark cloud coming over and the rain coming down will probably kill a lot of the breeze off until the strong northerly comes in. And I think we're going to be lucky that we're finishing this race in the last of the best breed.
That's right, and Alberto Romer's there steering his boat across the finish line. I think that's probably the first race he's won as helmsman going across the actual line, but that's always a nice moment, as you say, when you spend quite a lot of money on your team, and it's been a pretty tough year for them all in all, but nice to win a race.
Yeah, three wins in a world championship is something they can be very proud of.
They of course did Copa del Rey and won the class there.
Yeah, super quick in Copa del Rey, and it was just another training platform for them as a team. You know, they do a lot of training around the racing and the practice days. You know, they're one of the boats who are out there for the longest, and it kind of shows. You know, they're still on top. They're still right on top of their game, and being able to produce wins of over 300 meters is pretty up there.
Some changes going on. I think a little bit of a shift by the looks of things. Watching the virtual as he come down now, bit of breeze coming down the outside, the offshore, right hand side looking downwind. Quantum seem to be emerging. May even manage to get through Preveza. That looks quite interesting, Fergal.
Yeah, it's amazing just to see how they go strength to strength, even from a weak position. They've sailed around boats who are hosting some of the best sailors in the world on board. So
let's watch his finish. It looks like Quantum may even manage to steal a second, the way things are transpiring at the moment.
Yeah, Preveza have a long way to go around, and obviously Quantum on starboard have they look to be bow forward, and they've just got one jibe to go. Just got to make one clean jibe, and incredible, really.
Quantum come away with a second. Preveza lose that long-held second place in that race number 7.
I think we'll see Platoon getting a fourth, so that's a pretty incredible result for Platoon to come back from where they started as well.
I think there's been
a big bunch up. This is going to be a hard one for the race committee to see
far less us
who got through there. I've got Alegre just crossing in front of Sorcha on the virtual eye by 1 second. I guess it'll all be confirmed soon.
So certainly no mistaking who won that one. Azura and Quantum just pipping Preveza in the final jibe. Big raft up. You can see Brunenasek coming through to windward of that group.
Ran just crossing there for a 10th, so that penalty really cost them in their hunt to keep hold of consistent second places, and another 10th to add to their scoreboard, which I think will put them down to 4th. And Paprec will be following somewhere down behind. I think they've got a little way to go to the line, but obviously Phoenix having that black flag disqualification means that Paprec will be the last boat to finish.
So very, very roughly points for the top few at the moment. Quantum moving on to 12 points. Preveza on to 30. Azura now on 33. Ran on to 37. And Platoon on to 44. So that's the top of the table, very, very roughly, very provisionally. Very poor arithmetic. But really, you don't need to be a maths genius to work out that Quantum still have a very, very handsome lead in this championship. 18 points.
18-point lead. They can come.
18, 17, 18. You know, so all credit to them.
I think the first 2 days, racking up 6 points in 4 races. Once you've done that, you're in such a strong position, especially when the rest of the fleet are chopping and changing so much. That it's going to be such a hard one to come back to. 18 points is
So yeah, that penalty for Ran really has cost them when they were well up in the fleet. As that happened, it was an incident with Gladiator, Top Mark coming together first time up, and the penalty dropped them to, I think they were 11th at the time, pulled back a place. Also, as we mentioned early in the programme, that black flag disqualification for Phoenix when Phoenix really were looking to put some better results on the board, falling foul of the black flag second start to race 7, just losing out and having to end up spectating for that race. So they really will want to come back into race 8, put a good start together and get up among the chocolates. Also, Preveza just losing out second place to Quantum, but still third. Really, their charge for second place is intact, moving clear of Ran. Their threat now is much more Azura. Azura are now 3 points behind them, and the momentum to a certain extent, I would say, with Azura after that big win, Fergal.
Yeah, I think the momentum will run high in both teams, but none more so than Azura after such a massive lead. And
so that's the confirmed finishing order for race number 7. Azura first place, second Quantum Racing, third Preveza, fourth Platoon, fifth Allegra, sixth Sorcha, seventh Brennersek, eighth Sled, Gladiator 9th, Ran Racing get 10th, Paprec 11th unfortunately, and Phoenix that black flag disqualification, so taking 13 points, number of starters +1. So that's the finishing order. And look at the black clouds. I think we're going to probably delay through until the cloud passes over and we start to see the northwesterly come in. The accuracy of the weather forecasting of our navigators is never really in doubt, is it? I mean, there's some fantastic talent out there, and they just know to within minutes usually what's happening.
Yeah,
But,
we have people on the outside as well who give us very, very accurate forecasts for the
so
navigators.
who do you use?
We use Chris Bedford in America, and he sends us over a forecast, very, very detailed forecast, incredibly explained, and like something you'd see straight out of a meteorology office. So very, very detailed. Jules on our team certainly, and all the other navigators get to read through these notes and get to, as Jules said, look at some of the local information as well and make up from the best parts their own forecast and use that on the boat while they're out there.
Absolutely, and part of the forecasting is obviously the strategy, but also sail selection is vital. You were saying yesterday that you went out with every sail other than one staysail or something in the chase boat.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we have limited room on the chase boats out there for all the fleet, and if there's a forecast that ranges from 5 knots to 25 knots. And you don't want to be caught out with the wrong jib up, or we do use different strength mains. We have light airs mains, we have all-purpose mains, and we have heavy airs mains. So you don't want to be losing out, and we do have the opportunity to change in between races or before the first race. So yeah, we were pretty stacked up. The boat went pretty slow.
That's right. Well, the weather really is in the balance for the moment. We're going to take a break just now as the situation evolves on the water. But join us again in a short while, just as soon as we move into a start sequence for race number 8. Then join us again live from Menorca.